child tax credit that we have given in
Are we live, everybody?
so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy
We at Pizza Ranch. I'm actually holding up a laptop, okay? So I'm trying to figure out where to put it at. I'm gonna put it over here so there ain't too much noise background noise.
I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction.
I guess that's a good place for it. What you think? Maybe just move it up a little bit.
Part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
First of all, I have no sales tax. It's an incorrect statement. She knows that.
The watch party.
We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I look at billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because it was so much money they had. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places they've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation has, which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have never seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that she and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you on this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook. A bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together when we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas. I guess some good, some bad. But it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with the pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died. Has there been anything like it? We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military.
Moderation helps everyone feel safe. To build a positive live chat experience for you and your followers, choose who can participate, set a delay between messages, how to put people in timeout, manage messages, help for review, add moderators to your channel. Jesus.
So,
That's terrible. We won't be doing that. You can go ahead and talk about anything you want in the comments.
Look at his economic plan. It's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse, mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
Caring about
Went to the
staying
Wharton
out of the
School
way.
of Finance,
People
and
who never
many
read
of those
it.
professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work, create jobs, and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something Bull brought up. The Vice President brought up tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll be higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. Who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And if she doesn't like it, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at the poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response.
Don't let Bobby Biden
Because the
tell
Biden
me
administration did keep
every day.
a
I
number of the
wake
Trump
up
tariffs
and
in
I
place.
ask for everything that I have.
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military. Basically sold us out when a policy about China should be in
See,
making
that
sure the
shouldn't
United
resonate
States
with
of
anybody.
America
That should
wins
fall
the
flat when you
competition for the
say Donald
21st
Trump sold out
century,
the American
which means
people. American
focusing
people should know
on the
Donald Trump.
details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi! Exclamation point. When we know that Xi was responsible for not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump.
First of all, they bought the chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything
I was excited,
she believed
not really
4 years
excited,
ago
but
and 4 years ago,
I couldn't wait to see what kind of excuses they were. Because people was like, well, she's going to do this, and this. It's like, you know, she's been in the office for the past 3 years, right? All of those promises is your votes as a hostage.
And Trump made a good point when he said, you know, it's not fair to Biden how they pushed him out after he made it
You
to
never hear about it anymore.
Yeah, he said it's not fair to Biden, but it's also not fair to him that he has to run 2 separate campaigns. He had to defeat Biden on policies and his opponents, and he has to run against Kamala. And then there's anybody else who got beat too. Oh, my bad, man. We was live streaming. No, you good. You ain't playing tripping. In fact, if you want, you can come on, jump to the camera. talk about it.
I'm actually off work. I was saying whatever you guys had extra, I'm gonna.
Oh, you're welcome to come and hang out if you want. We can chop it up.
Wife's outside. Can't leave the wife.
Oh, yeah. No,
she's
you're right.
outside. I appreciate it.
Let's say you with some. Yeah. Here go my guy. My guy Vaughn accommodated us at Pizza Hut, Pizza Ranch. Excuse me. Very generous guy, man. Make sure we give you some bumper stickers. And just take all the bumper stickers. We take just a couple just for that spot that we headed to. And then we just made these. Where are those? Should be a box. Oh, here it goes. It's underneath this. Just made these. We made these for the watch party. So we haven't even opened these yet. Here goes a cool story. So the guy that runs this company, he's a Trump supporter. Right? He got a bunch of people in his company, liberals, who he argues with on a regular basis at his company. He started seeing a lot of the stuff. We've been supporting the president for years. And I spoke in his defense and stuff in interviews, and we print stuff like this or make t-shirts or whatever. And so he sees the kind of stuff I'm printing, and it all has like a story to it. And so when he's sitting here looking at it, it's like he went on Kim Poulos, he went on his show and a couple other places and talked about his name Anthony Cousins, you know? And the guy who runs Sticker News, the founder, and he started talking about how the division in the country is making people feel like they can't. It's okay to put a Kamala Harris sign in your yard with like almost everybody, but it's not okay to have a Trump sign in your yard. You know what I mean? And so he said, like, the ability to be able to speak up and be able to support your candidate. I was saying, I wish I had like some hats or some shirts or something, man. I can't bring enough. And then do you have like any policy flyers?
I got.
Just in case you talk to,
sure.
just in case you talk to anybody, man, that you think you could convince. I appreciate you, man. Like I said, you've been very helpful. I feel bad that I said Pizza Hut there at the beginning, but she kept talking about going to Pizza Hut last night, so I haven't learned from you. In fact, I'm trying to think. I got a couple more stickers in my car, and I'll grab a little bit some on the way out.
Nice meeting you guys. You
Yeah,
guys have
it
a
was nice
great
meeting you
night.
too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I did a great service in Dover. It took courage to do. And And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime, a violation to their body, does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree that the government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
There she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we got what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it
Well, I won't have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. This is impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with a 50-50, essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of when they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea. And how unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, General J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto if you did come to pass.
Well, I did discuss it with J.D. in all fairness. J.D. And I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he's speaking for me. But I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. they can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. Wonderful, let's go to Congress, do it. But the fact is that for years they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
And Vice President Harris will give you time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body, and that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President
Excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, would she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month? Okay, would you do that? Why don't you answer
Why don't you answer the question? Would you
Because
please
under Roe v.
answer
Wade,
the question
you
for me?
could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th month, and probably after birth. Just look at the former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden.
Sorry, Mr. Trump, that one's not for you.
Central America. We know that illegal border crossing has reached a record high. The Biden administration has passed President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently for President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he preferred to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter, He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first. And I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your
Well, I would
response.
like to respond.
Let me just ask though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the board.
First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's busing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here, you bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
The people on television said my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this
But the people on television say my dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond to the rest of it.
You're talking about extreme. This is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the Republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people, not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people who's were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper, he was no good, I fired him, so he writes a book. Another one writes a book, because with me they can write books, with nobody else can they. But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy, look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists, they have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any president, sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you have no problem using the U.S. military. You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
It is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country, and they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're getting their votes. But it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world. Crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But
Excuse me, the FBI defrauded. They were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found
We had a good
liable
conversation.
for sexual assault, and his
We had a
next
good
big
conversation.
court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear, where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was
Did they
arraigned
say
on
when they take a break,
34
did they have the
felony
structures
counts.
of the video?
So let's talk about it is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired record and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what
8:30
we
and
need
9
to do
o'clock,
to
so they already had
support
a break.
small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with the same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me.
Thank
Every one
We
of
had
those
a really
cases
good conversation
was started by
about
them
everything.
against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will
wish
win
I
the
had
rest of
the
the appeal. And you saw that with the
life
decision that came down just
Took
recently
the
from
damn
the Supreme
laptop out
Court.
if I knew
I'm
we were
winning
gonna talk
most
that
of
long.
them. But those are
Okay.
cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of
That's
those
true.
cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA of New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
Thank you. Really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand that this is someone who
Yeah,
has
explain
openly
to him what
said
happened
he
in
would
Genesis.
terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails. Because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people
Vice
to stop
President
him.
Harris.
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president,
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about
Because you hug that flag,
democracy. I'm a
sir.
threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a fake Russia investigation
You do a lot
that
to get.
went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to, Lindsay.
Vice President Harris,
I
in your
watched
last
all
run
those
for
impeachment
president,
proceedings.
you
They
wanted
were all
to ban
bullshit.
fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory
I watched
government
it minute by
buyback
minute.
programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You support decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of it, at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020.
I wanted
I
to
will not
ask
ban
him, but
fracking.
I didn't
I have not
articulate
banned
it.
fracking
I
as
should
Vice
ask him
President of the
why
United
he
States, and in
voted for
fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new
Not everybody likes
leases
to
for
talk to the
fracking.
camera.
My position is that we have
They're not-
got
they don't
to
have any
invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done.
The word "my
protecting
work" is
seniors
very
from
ambiguously
scams.
and loosely
My
used in this context,
values
correct?
have not changed. And what is important is that
Oh, your
there
values
is a
have most
president who
definitely
actually
changed.
brings values and a perspective that
She
is
said
about
she wants to
lifting
close the
people
border.
up and not beating
Your values
people
have changed.
down and name calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to
They're gonna
be
make a
that
highlight reel
president.
of Donald Trump getting called names by Kamala Harris, and they will run it tomorrow on every conservative podcast.
And a great father, and I learned a lot from him, but I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars,
Right.
many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it. Okay, they're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12, probably 14 or 15 different policies like that. She was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, where I'm talking now. You know,
That's gonna be a
does
meme.
that sound familiar? She went
Yeah,
out,
even surprised.
she went out in Minnesota.
Look at her
and wanted
face.
to let
Meme.
criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis. She went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that will do this. She wants to confiscate your guns. She'll never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, Fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish one thing, it's all important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. They took what they took.
They are closing
They got
in
rid
15
of
minutes.
and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country. And oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar.
turn it up.
They take 400, 500 acres of desert soil. These are not good things for the environment this year.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the
Hey,
peaceful
all
transfer
desert.
of power, which we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy and the role of the president
Better
in
get
a
something
moment of
else if you
crisis.
want.
Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out in the Capitol.
What's up, buddy?
The officers coming under attack.
Are you watching the debate? What did they do? Did they cut it?
I didn't touch anything.
We told that recorder too. And so, but he left.
I know.
So the staff that he put in charge, he was like, be good to my people. And they was like, as soon as they left.
Yeah.
The boss is gone. Now you want to act up, huh? What you want to try, man? You know, nobody showed up. That guy got a whole lot of buttons. One button for you. One button for you. One button for me. Well, watch this thing.
I know.
They cool, right? Limited edition Trump buttons, man. I gave that fool like 10 of them, huh? You said what?
I can't take it anymore. The hate.
The hate.
I can't take that person no.
Look, he even packed my shit with extra storage.
No.
Yeah, man, this guy, man, he's a supporter of the president. He is.
Beat up by a bunch of
You said what? I'll never get beat up by a bunch of people. You are what? Where are they?
beat me up.
They don't like the president? Where are
Yes.
they?
What?
Where are they?
They're everywhere. Wait.
Yeah,
It's
let's
like-
just drive around and find them someday.
That's wrong.
It is wild, huh? No, it's not beyond wild. Before I do it again. You looking for me, I'm looking for them.
Too bad. It's Turkey or something.
RFK.
I just couldn't listen to that.
RFK endorsed Trump.
I just couldn't do it.
RFK endorsed Trump. We've seen that, right?
Well, I don't know.
RFK, Tulsi. When Tulsi was talking to him, she had like hearts coming out of her eyes, like a cartoon or something. She was, oh, Trump. You heard the story, right? Did you listen to that? When I queued up that, they were in lacrosse.
Yes.
Did you listen to it? Did you hear what she said?
No.
They try to have a baby by
Yes.
in vitro in utero. Or do you have in vitro babies by in vitro?
Fertilization.
Why would you know what that means?
Yeah.
You gotta be kidding me. I don't have any of that. This stupid thing was not on. I was gonna get, the pieces of our conversation that we needed. All right, man. Well, I'm following you around the corner.
We got more to do.
No, I'm following you around the corner because you know where you're going. I don't.
Well, so my computer gonna ride with you, or can your phone ride with me? I'll trade your phone.
No, I don't need your phone.
You trust
Just take mine. Just honestly, just don't leave me.
Lose it. What's up, buddy? What you got going on? I'm gonna grab one of those things on the way out. You got 'em. Appreciate that. Okay, that got a lot of stuff. But that's good. I think I just like deputized him.
Yep.
Dude, if you took all the bumper stickers, and I was like, bumper stickers, so are you helping us promote our candidate then? And then he took the literature. Oh, if you'll take the flyers, I think you're like as good as deputized. You in the Trump campaign? I wish I had some Trump team stickers for him. You know, I don't know. I got these Trump Vance stickers, but I wanted to let him know he's part of the team. He added me on Facebook, so I'll be seeing that guy. He was like, "Man, you don't have a Facebook or something?" This guy is pretty interesting. I told him we put together conferences and all that. And I told him, I was like, we were talking about how the country is. And I told him, we don't have a guy like this. And I said, you remember the Long March to the Institutions? I said, look, man, I was both during the Cold War. I started putting him up on games. And then we was out there, his wife was in the van. He didn't even look back. He was sitting there like,
Say it again.
what?
You were born where?
During the Cold War.
You're a Viking.
I told him I seen Carson. I said something about that. I said, yeah, I seen that. I seen Carson up there. I can't remember why he came up in conversation. I said he's dead Hanson's. And he said, oh yeah. And you know Hanson? Oh yeah. So he must follow local politics, at least to a degree. All right, I'm just gonna leave the laptop open, and I'm gonna take one piece of that strawberry stuff that Zay had. Was the pizza any good?
Yeah.
Was it really?
You may not find any more strawberry.
I ate 2 plates. I tried to eat 2 plates.
When I was out there, I had apple cinnamon and there was a blueberry out there. There wasn't any strawberry.
Yeah, the blueberry wasn't really good.
Apple cinnamon was.
Well, when we go in here, let's bring in the signs in case they're short on signs there. And then we'll bring in some bumper stickers. We don't need to set everything out like we did, though. Do we take this stuff?
I don't think so. I think they'll probably want to come and get it themselves. But we didn't mess anything up except for that one table, so they shouldn't take very long to
Is that cool?
clean.
Just leave it.
I mean, it's obvious that
It's good.
they probably are gonna have to move the tables and vacuum in here anyway.
Shout out Pizza Ranch. We appreciate y'all, man. Y'all were very helpful. Y'all been very supportive of the campaign the whole time. I know that my supervisor in Iowa, Garrett Coschetti, used you guys for some phone bank activities and some trainings. Always been helpful, man. God bless Pizza Ranch, man. Y'all. You said they do got the strawberries or no?
It's around the corner, see?
Will you grab me one? Cause I got my hands full. It's right here. Blueberry ones.
They said they weren't very good.
The blueberry ones? Say you lying. I gotta try them both. Thank you. I appreciate you. Yes,
We're
ma'am,
helping
too.
you. Climb up here.
We just taking the blueberry one. I've never seen that one before. I've had the apple one. I haven't had the blueberry. Thank you, guys. And we on the move. I still got your phone. I got you. I hear you back there talking, man. Charlie, talking in the pocket brown. Next day, do a backflip.
Oh, no.
No.
I'm way too full. I was just going to jump over that curb, but everybody was like,
Go ahead, man. I'm an American, eat a piece of ranch. What have we here? You said what? A vape. A vaporizer. I don't mess with them. Yeah, man. Put your truck up. Man, youngster. Don't forget, man, your Xbox is back here.
I got to take the buddy out.
Yeah, no. There ain't no driving past that. We're going like 10 blocks. And we're missing the debate. I gotta go. Oh yeah. Charlie Brown, man. What you got going on, man?
Watching the debate.
You watching it?
Yeah.
What they talking about? What they talking about right now? 'Cause we in traffic, so.
Just fucking going back and forth, man. Like fucking, she just keeps accusing him of fucking shit. He keeps just saying that she's lying.
She's lying. She's lying, Biden. Lying, Biden. Oh, this is terrible.
So, well, he doesn't get the way. Go ahead.
Man, the watch party is gonna be.
Oh, that's a curb.
Yeah, I see it.
Oh, shit.
We are good. We are good, my brother.
So close to 180.
Mama keeps trying to seem like she's selling them to me, but she know I don't prove that.
You said Kamala what?
Just seems like she's trying to sell everything like American Dream.
Yeah, I noticed that all of a sudden she's real patriotic. Ain't that crazy?
And
She said, wow, I found a donkey.
basically she's handling a lot of shit.
Crazy.
And he's gonna do away with the whole Constitution.
She said he gonna do away with the Constitution. What's it? How's he gonna do away with it?
He's gonna follow it.
That don't make sense. Is there like a button you push to do that, or is that like a piece of paper you file or something? Piece of paper to make the whole Constitution go away? That'll let you know how slow she is.
If I'm correct, I think he has to file like a grievance.
Oh yeah, you file a grievance and the Constitution goes away.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how they did it when they screwed Trump. Yeah, man. Because I watched all that shit on CNN, man. I watched them drag the president for years. Like, what are these people doing? It's embarrassing.
And the people that are like giving the debate, they're kind of like boxing Trump in a fucking corner.
They what?
The leftists, they keep boxing Trump in a corner.
They're trying to box him in?
Yeah, they keep saying like, since he trying to bust it out. Well, we talked with like, he was saying that like the immigrants are coming in and eating like eating people's pets and shit like that. Springfield.
Bro, who the hell just told me about that, bro? Who said they went down in the city park and they took some ducks?
And then they're like, oh, we just got off the phone with the city manager, and they said that there's no reports of that.
Yeah.
They keep doing shit like that to Donald Trump.
Oh, they keep fact checking him.
They keep making him look like a liar.
Well, that's just for people who don't pay good enough attention. If people paying close attention, they'll be asking.
I was just talking about innocent thousands of people killed. Children, others.
You said what? Phone just died. Talk to you about that shit later, buddy.
Your call cannot be.
That's not it. Trying to see if Charlie Brown was in here. My mama must have called Charlie Brown, but yeah, man, we had a good conversation outside, man. That was the conversation that I should have got on there. All right, they should be right over here on this side.
Is this?
See? On the left? On the right?
What's it called?
Morocco wine room or some shit.
Right there.
There it goes.
No, I asked whose is this.
Video. Check it out. A lot of people out here. We're on 108th and Sanders. Jesus. Signs. I was wondering what she was doing. Look at my mama carrying them signs. Look at she carrying the Trump signs. I forgot. Good call, Wayne. That's one thing we could be doing. You could just stream it on your phone. We could sit right here and watch it. Or we could go in there. I don't know where it is. Say, man, do you know if they're having the watch party in there, huh?
Yes, they are.
It's in the back room or
It's down to the right. It's to the right.
y'all wanna go in there and watch it out here? It's up to you. It's like how he's streaming it.
I,
Oh, okay, so it's full.
oh, yeah, it's,
So we might be better watching out because I was saying we could stream it just how you doing on the phone.
I'm part of a research group. Actually, my research group's covering it right now.
Oh, okay.
There's 200 of us across the country, and I'm one of the Nebraska members. There's like 3 of us in Nebraska, and I'm part of the Nebraska outreach in my research group. But that's another story. Sorry.
Oh, you good? That's cool.
I'm Daryl.
Good to meet you, Daryl, man. I'm Scott.
Pleasure to meet you, Scott.
Nice to meet you, brother. Yeah, I'm a captain with the Trump campaign. I'm just a volunteer, but we got a bunch of captains for the little areas.
I'm one of the captains for
Sarpy County. Okay, I'm out of Dodge County. This is my mother, Jackie. This is my nephew, Xavier.
And you're who? Xavier? Pleasure to meet you, Xavier. I have a Zaron that's on my, I'm actually a school bus driver too. I've been doing this for almost a decade and a half, so many of the kids I know actually graduated from college now, and they're on their way. I have a few now and then that come back. Channel 3, probably about 7 years ago, where they interviewed me on about it. But that was, but it's a labor of love. You do it because I love the kids. I was a therapeutic foster parent for child savings before, and did that too. And I mean,
Good job.
you know, like it's no good job. It's all about the mission, brother.
Yes, sir,
I mean,
it
it's
is.
about the mission. You love the kids, and you got to take care of them every day.
I will appreciate you, though, man. Still.
I've been a school teacher.
I'm a
for
dad.
50 years.
I'm a
See,
dad.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
You know, just dumb stuff, like.
I went
stuff that
to
doesn't- you can say whatever you
Penn
want. She
Western
hasn't
School
said a
District,
single thing of
and I made it
substance
clear,
to me.
if any more of our children get attacked by the policy you're trying to push, I will fight for them to step in there, I mean, all the way, because
Yeah, I know.
I'm not gonna have you push good teachers out.
Yeah.
And that bothered me because that's what was happening,
Right.
where they're pushing good teachers out with good values
No, I
and
can't.
getting rid of them,
Dude, we paid 26.
and that
$26.
Terry Cunningham Swanson. Terry Cunningham Swanson. Yeah. Same thing as what just happened in Plattsmouth at the school board. The Plattsmouth school
I was
board.
gonna go down there and testify for them at one point, because I'm part of the research group,
Yep.
and there was a lot of things happening across the country. And that school district was falling right in line with some of the things we were saying.
Right.
And I was just like, you guys gotta wake up in your neighborhoods here.
We did research on DEI metrics being applied in our social service system. So the same way that you saw somebody that was 5 foot tall trying to guard a 6'2" president, and then she used him as a shield. She ducked behind him and used him as a guard.
Well, the biggest
You
thing,
know.
biggest thing I work on is researching how is it affecting us locally.
Yep.
That way parents can tie it and see what's happening in the school.
Yep.
They can see. I have a recording of just today, actually.
Yeah.
We're in my daughter's health class, where they're basically pushing LGBTQ and the 20 other now additives to it. And understand, parents think it's just grooming. It's more than that.
Yeah.
It's actually this All right, yeah, this is actually based upon queer theory.
Yeah.
And actually, which is a Marxist ideology, that they're using this to break down the family unit.
Oh yeah.
And
Hey, they've been doing it for half a century
yes, they have.
successfully.
Well,
But Calf just stopped the gender experiments here in Nebraska with 574. We worked on that.
I've
bill.
worked with Tim and in her office.
Okay.
I actually worked for her. I communicated with Texas.
Tim. Oh, fuck, you remember Tim?
You know exactly. He's
I know.
the
I
attorney,
know
he's
who
the
you're
legal
talking
side
about.
of that
Yeah, I know
for
who you're talking
in her
about.
office.
He's got glasses. He's a little taller. I can't remember his last name off the top. But I know who you're talking about.
The research I was pulling, I was working with some of the legislative members down in Texas,
Yes.
passing information on from there to him, so her office would directly have evidence to be able to present to our body,
Fair enough.
so they can make decisions. But we went beyond that in our research group. We actually got documentation of several doctors who supposedly testified there, who what they were testifying on, they were completely lying through their teeth.
Right.
I mean, this one trans doctor was presenting basically, they were the end all know it all of all this here stuff, and she was the doctor was presenting, I'm doing this for Catholics, I'm doing this for the religious community. Oh, it was so insane,
Right.
especially when you dug in deep in it. But I could go on.
You right? No, you good. If you out here when this
evidence
raps,
is what we need. See,
Yeah.
that's what we work for. We go to source evidence that they're presenting, so it's not me saying this is my opinion.
Right.
Here's the evidence. You make your own
Right.
opinion on it, and you'll probably come to the same.
right. And I have an educational background in child protections, and I'm the regional director for Nebraska for the U.S. Institute of Diplomacy and Human Rights. That's why I'm saying we can chop it up as when we get done with the little party. If you're gonna be here,
Yeah, I could be.
I was gonna say you smoke cigarettes. I smoke cigars, but we could smoke cigars and cigarettes and talk for a minute if you ain't in a hurry, brother.
No problem. Like I said,
All right,
I've
dude.
been. I'm still trying to work on something to present. I'm actually from the Sarpy County side, but I came
Okay.
up here. We had that shooting today. You're aware of?
Yes, Northwest.
Yeah, Northwest
Okay.
High School. I'm a school bus driver.
Okay.
I was going to go. They had the Sarpy County was at 88 Tactical. It wouldn't be appropriate for me as a school bus driver.
Fair enough.
So I came here instead, so I could still celebrate.
I heard that one was like packed, anyways, man. You might
I
have
know
been
it
in the
was
better
gonna-
spot because
no.
well, Joe Haggerty said it's gonna.
You got to understand the Marxist
Shoulder to
and
shoulder.
communist side of it.
Yeah.
If I came out and I'm present stuff later on, I don't want them to use that again.
Yes. No, I
I
agree.
have to think of the bigger picture always. Just like as a foster parent, we got to think of the bigger picture. It's not just for me; it's for everybody else.
Yes.
So if I try to go out there and do that, go there because I'm going to have a great crowd and I could mingle with some really good people and I could make more connections.
Right.
It would be better if I came here. I could still make connections like I met you guys.
Yep.
But that could be used against me, and then it could end up hurting innocent people later on, and that's what I don't want.
Yes.
Bigger picture. I try.
No, you're right. You're
But
right.
you
You can always extract it out to the next level in the bigger and bigger picture. No, I appreciate that, brother. I'll be back though. All right. Find this little watch party. Sorry about that. I meant to hold the door and I forgot. Did he say back and to the right or did he say in and to the right? That's not it. Back there is like bathrooms. It says exit, right? All right, let's see if we can see past it. How y'all doing? I know, man. We was at the Pizza Ranch, man.
Oh, you were?
We had organized one, and we didn't know that they closed R9.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? So we talked to the guy that was running the Pizza Ranch and everything, and we made sure that we stayed long enough that if anybody showed up from our Bible study, that we could still be there for that. But yeah, we wanted to go ahead and catch this one because we heard it was a good one. I really appreciate you, man. You too.
The javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided. Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump would be sitting here right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I'd like you to respond to something you said earlier. And now, please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men. But he would have been sitting in Moscow, quiet place. He would have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now. But eventually, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening. But he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of the debate, you're gonna have virtual eyes coming through the stuff. And that doesn't matter. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, and I met with him over 5 times. The reality is, it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is Commander-in-Chief, and the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen, he's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen, for years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying, one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. Otherwise, we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today in Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, you'll get this. And the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not again appreciate the role and responsibility of the president of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So, if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, it was we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind. And we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. And these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me. I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I said that, and then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think honestly, I think it's someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. We have so much more in common that separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember, Donald Trump started. He was he owned land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first Black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your third time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, where a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park Five. They admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad that she can't get away with that.
Briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country. One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what they can in terms of the American dream. Yes. And help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time homebuyers. That's the kind of conversation I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that's constantly about religion and name calling. Let's turn the page.
Thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President Trump.
Let's turn to policy, please.
To defund the police, she has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun. She has a plan to not allow fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else. That's what her plan is until just recently.
She's now the third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal or replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up, they wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just expand. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better healthcare than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely supported over the last 4 years as vice president private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time. When I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate, and the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it, pass this poll up in terms of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a lot
Made a mistake. And number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It was all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get. People are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need to be.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, and particularly younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump said we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to the world tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you in 1 minute from each.
Well, the former president had said that climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences who now is either being denied home insurance or is being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I'm proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
President Harris, thank you. It didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable, but we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country because they will kill United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it between him and his son. They get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates.
All right, how we doing? We're ready for closing statements, right? How's Trump doing, man? Yes. A couple of announcements that we just want to introduce a couple people. Woman. Clayton Henson and Patrick Lee. They're going for the Trump campaign. They're here to see you too to get this blue dot red. All right. Anything else?
I think they should speak. It's fine, come on, 1 minute. Tell them what they need to do.
I've never been in shape for a speaker. You know, in all seriousness, thank you very much for the support you show the president. I think all of us know how important the election is here in Nebraska. This electoral vote could be very, very important. It could be the electoral vote that decides the presidency. So the work you do, the volunteering you do, the support you show for the president, it will matter here. And do not be fooled, it's going to be close here. This is a very, very, very tough district. But we can win it. We can win it because of all of you. It's the volunteers who can find those low propensity voters, who can get them out to vote, to remind them, to encourage them. A lot of them, they don't like the process or they're not energized, but they will vote the right way. We just have to encourage them to vote, and they're out there. So I just appreciate everything all of you do, and I'll let you get back to you.
How do we
Thank you, Clayton.
Please go to TrumpForce47.com, TrumpForce47.com, and sign up to be a volunteer. We need door knockers, we need people to make calls into the districts, or right here, if you know somebody who's in western Nebraska can help out, they can go also to TrumpForce47.com and sign up to help. Yeah, mostly. All right, we'll get that back to the debate. Reminder, we've got the baskets in the back. You can go bid on them. We got some great Trump paraphernalia there. I'm looking at the table here, some food still. So we're good to go. Let's finish this thing up and let's shoot on Donald J. Trump for victory.
It is debate night in America. Donald Trump, Kamala Harris square off for the first time. We'll be in the spin with a analysis and reaction. JD Vance.
Yeah, that's what I came up with about there.
Bring them out with you when you come out. Like whatever they done. Big watch party. Not bad. My buddy Daryl left. He was like, I'm just Daryl. Really nice place, by the way. I don't know if y'all can see it.
Hey there.
How you doing, man?
Watching the show?
Well, I mean, they just doing the closing
Okay.
statements, and we'll see if we can get some comments, some issues from the voters. I'm just kind of curious what everybody feels is like the biggest issue, you know, for each individual voting.
Yeah.
Everybody has different issues.
It has to be immigration though.
Yeah,
Because
that's a good one.
If a country is invaded by soldiers, you
Yes.
kick the soldiers out.
True.
If a country is invaded by migrants, they change the country forever.
Correct. No, I agree. I definitely agree. I definitely agree that if you don't have boundaries, you don't have a thing. Like if you don't have definitions for a thing, you don't have a thing. Like what they're doing with the language game these days, you know. What is that thing? Let's debate it. It's the same thing with the country, you know. The country has borders. That's what makes America America.
What makes a country a country?
Correct.
And the people and divided so much and pushed it. And it's intentional.
Yes.
There's, you know, if you look at the average Democrats and average Republican,
Yes.
we all used to be Americans.
Correct.
But the people are pushing us aside, pushing us away from each other.
We're being forced into separate demographic camps.
Well,
Like everybody's
not just demographics.
definitely divisible. They break people down into smaller and smaller groups.
Right.
And
Easier to
then form
manage.
small coalitions.
Yeah, easier to manage.
Yes. Oh, it's Marxism, right?
It is. What's this?
We were organizing a watch party. We were like, so we had a small get together with this family, and then we came back up here to join this one.
Sweet, thank you.
Yeah, man, it was a good party. I appreciate it.
See y'all. I've been working all night, and my wife's been running, so I came here just for a little bit.
Already?
I'm gonna go back and see my wife for a little bit before we go to bed.
Hey, man, God bless you, man. I appreciate you staying active, man. Thank you. Everybody got to be involved. How about you, sir?
For what?
Just taking people comments. If people have something that they want to say, what's important to them about, got a small podcast. And we just got to throw it up in case anybody want to talk about what kind of stuff is driving them in the election. Because everybody has different issues. I could probably pull it up and watch the ending comments when they finish.
I'm sorry, but I don't have a, affinity for people. Actually, like. Yes, that you're. That's fine.
He took off. Because I so came out like, where did Daryl go? It's the first thing I thought. Go ahead, I guess catch people if anybody walking by and they want to give a comment. Anybody have any thoughts? Thoughts on the debate?
Have a great evening, y'all.
Already, man. Appreciate y'all, man.
He invited everybody to stick around and chat too, so you may not have.
They might be inside still. Or I could have stayed inside. This is the smoking section though. How long you give me? 1 more, a half hour?
No, I'm not being, I'm like that. Good news is I'm not far from home, so. I've still got 2 minutes or something, but.
Well, let me give you my phone. And you can charge it while I try and get some comments out here. Zay, you want to sit with me, man? Try and see if anybody will join us. If you wear the cowboy hat, I promise they'll come. If you put on the cowboy hat, bro, my head is too big. That's too
My head is too. You got a skinny head, bro.
No,
Yes, bro.
no. That's too big. Let me see that.
That was good in there.
It was good.
More fun watching it than I thought.
Oh, yeah.
The whole running man, I muted it and
Howdy there, partner.
on the screen.
Howdy. Tip my damn hat to you.
Any thoughts on the debate now? We got a small podcast. We're taking anybody's comments or
Oh,
thoughts.
I think it was easy. Trump won. I mean, come on,
Good job,
I mean,
Tina,
it's
but-
just so.
Right answer. Yes. Yeah, that's the damn
It's
We're gonna
a
turn
damn
our
shame.
country around. We're gonna say the regardless.
We all just keep working,
Yes, ma'am.
knocking on those
Appreciate you.
doors.
Thank you. Thank you for your patriotism.
See, I'm gonna tell y'all a good old ghost story.
Oh my goodness.
Gather around the campfire. That's no, that's bad. You can't like that with that thing shooting fumes.
Fume.
Yeah, it's like micro plastics from glass.
Why don't you pull up in charge of my phone in your car?
Does your phone take the same as mine?
No.
Wait.
Oh yeah.
Y'all take care. Great.
Yeah, I love
Hey,
it.
man. Any comments or thoughts on the debate, y'all?
Yeah, it was very nice. So you have a good night.
So what?
On the election?
Oh, that's the one you want to talk to. That's
No,
great.
me, not me, not
So what do you got?
We said if anybody had any comments on the upcoming election, any thoughts on the past debate just now?
Oh, I don't know that that debate's really going to make a difference for anybody that was tuning in. I mean, they both kind of delivered exactly what everybody thought they would.
Everybody was on.
So, I mean, if they're undecided at this point in time,
They're bad actors.
they are, because
Yes,
I mean,
I agree.
the contrast has never been so clear.
Correct.
I mean, you've got Donald Trump, which I ask yourself, as Ronald Reagan said, are you better off now or 4 years ago?
You've been listening to Time for Choosing lately.
I'm telling you.
Hey man, that's the time to break out the raid.
Yeah, it's all good. All right.
How about you, sir? Any comments? Any thoughts on the debate? Any thoughts on the major issues?
It was
on the
in,
election?
I mean, both got their points in, don't you think?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, to me, it's just.
We already know where they both stand, kind of.
Yeah, and to me, it's just very common sense. I don't know if it's generational or what. I mean, I have one child that's on one side and the other child that's on the other side.
Right.
But, when you start looking, when you start looking at, no, sorry, I wasn't looking, I was just.
Oh, okay.
But thank you. Thank you, man.
I'm back. Sorry about that. I had to go people.
I'm hopeful.
Yes.
But there's a lot of low information voters out there.
Yes.
Let's face it, it's a popularity contest, right?
And vote propensity.
Right.
That's particularly what the campaign's targeting right now.
Absolutely. And people, if they like the way she smiles or she gets one jab in, he could have 19 out of the 20 slam dunk,
The character, the personality voters.
Don't you think?
That don't think about policy.
Yeah.
I think that's what the problem is. I think that's the main hurdle. What do you think about the way that Nebraska splits its electoral votes? Would you like to see a winner take all?
I would.
I would too. Well, I think it's interesting that liberals are so pro pure democracy. Everything has to come right down to democracy of the individual. Everybody has to have
No
to say in everything. But when it comes to the electoral process, the winner doesn't determine. The majority isn't right all of a sudden. The majority is wrong.
Look at so many of the issues. Our next door neighbor is related to Tony Vargas.
Right.
I mean, Tony Vargas can talk dumb naked.
Man,
Tony Vargas is solid. You can love him or you can hate him. You watch
He's sharp.
You watch him on the unicamera.
He's sharp.
That dude is good.
That's why he doesn't vote.
Man, let me tell you something though.
Exactly. But people don't watch unicamera.
I do. I watch.
I do too.
Plus, I watch committee hearings.
Yeah,
Plus, I
absolutely.
testified in the committee hearings.
But I'm a consultant, and so Vargas' campaign reached out to me and tried to recruit me, and I told him no. And I gave the guy like a hour-long lecture about the principles of America and all this stuff, and it was interesting because he sat and listened to it all. You would think if he's on the campaign, he's committed, he's decided.
Right.
He was giving credence to a lot of stuff I was saying. I don't know, maybe red pilled that guy. He might have left the campaign.
It's important to know how they vote or don't vote.
But I've seen pictures.
Things though, right?
Did you see the picture of Vargas and Kavanaugh holding the pro-abortion sign with the baby carriage. They had the newborn baby and they're
I mean,
holding
it doesn't surprise me though.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
terrible.
there's.
Well, yeah, and
Kavanaugh's ruthless. You gotta
Yes.
watch her.
Yes.
Well, her and her brother both are actually. Her brother is super intelligent in some of the laws. And that's
What bothers me is that the police haven't made any arrests. Like they were up there talking about they're doing this to some child. Either it's Kavanaugh's kid or Hunt's kid. Somebody's kid is doing this transition. So they're doing these experiments on one of these. All right.
That's Hunt's job. I know, I've researched her. I've dug into her for the last probably.
Oh,
Sorry about that. Hey, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for talking, man. God bless you, man. We're gonna get better in November.
Absolutely.
All right, brother. But no, I'll say it. Kavanaugh sat there and filibustered the whole Senate because they want to do
Well,
this.
her
stuff.
and Hunt did.
Yeah, and they want to do this stuff to children. Now, there's stuff on the books right now that the police could arrest these women for what they're doing to these children.
It's not just the women, there's a men involved with that too.
Well, yeah, but those two particular women that were promoting that, like, that's all a matter of record of our legislative record. So, I mean, yeah, I have no idea how they get away with stuff like that. And people
Because
say
the laws are vague enough where they can slide it.
the subjectivity, that's every time I give testimony to the committee hearings, what do I say, Zach? I say it's the subjectivity in the statutory language, and they open it up. They open up the language for interpretation.
That's
If
what
you tighten
Kavanaugh's
it up-
brother was doing. When they were like one of the things that, because he's real notorious for making adjustments to verbiage within some of the laws.
Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of, I mean, if you're not on top of it,
Yeah.
these laws are being changed in subtle ways, but when it goes to court, it can make drastic changes, especially to the kids. And that's what bothers me, because I'll take a bullet for any kid. I mean, that's what God put me in this earth to protect the children. I mean, that's part of my fight, and that's why I'm fighting.
I see it on your hat.
I keep forgetting I'm wearing this hat.
That's what dads do, man. That's why there was such an effort by the social service systems to suppress fathers when they were pushing these welfare incentives.
Exactly.
I spoke at the city council meeting in Fremont, Nebraska, when they were talking about the subject matter in the children's books. And my pastor's wife had brought a book up.
Which one?
It was one of those, am I gay or are you gay or how you say gay or something. Well, they have like, it was one of the ones where I guess in the book there's a description. I've read some of the text out of the book, description of how to get blowjobs and stuff like this. Not appropriate for the children's section, right?
Sure.
And so I went up and I testified for the city council that before there was this book being promoted in the library 30 years ago, there was a precursor book, and I'd argue it was arguably written by the same people, but the book was called Do I Have a Daddy? And they tried to normalize the removal of the father from there.
Correct.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, what's going on?
Oh, for sure.
Some of that.
Stickers.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, by all means.
No,
We're just
kidding
getting
me?
comments on the debate and then
Oh,
the issues before the voters. What kind of stuff is driving you this election? We got buttons.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
watch party buttons.
You have the Trump. Can I have
Yes,
this
sir.
bumper
By all
sticker?
means. Please.
So where did you get them? You bought it by yourself? You bought them by yourself?
Yeah, well, I volunteered with the campaign for the past 2 years now.
Okay.
And so I defend the president in numerous interviews, and I'm definitely going to be out here doing this independently, even if the campaign wasn't providing me stuff. I'll print my own. So, yeah.
I was looking for this.
Thank you.
Bumper sticker for a long time.
And Joe Haggerty has more. If you guys need any more supplies, or if you want to volunteer, you
Oh,
want to
yeah.
sign up, get more involved. It's the campaign headquarters.
Yeah,
right
I know.
next to
I know.
Don
Trump
Bacon's.
Force 47. I was helping in my church in the opening heavens conference in Council Bluffs.
I remember you, man. You brought the censure action against
Don Bacon.
Reapy, right? Was it
Yeah,
Merv
Reapy.
Yeah.
Reapy. Also Don Bacon in DC.
Okay. But no, I appreciate that, man. Mama, this is the guy that helped us. He brought the action to censor Reapy.
Yeah, it was passed.
Yeah. Yes, it was good.
Only
man.
like a 15 more. Yes,
15
they-
margin, 15%
yeah,
margin.
Yeah,
It's real
so like
close.
153 versus 138, like that close, yeah. Because
But we didn't, nobody took action the first time. So, the party platform is pro-life. And he went against the party, and he was the reason that Albrecht's bill failed.
I was wondering about
The
that.
heartbeat bill, he tanked it. And then what we
Yeah.
had was Hansen is an amazing senator. And he attached, since these are both child protections and they're all under the same umbrella, the same subject matter, he attached that to Cal's bill and got it passed. It's less restrictive than abortion restrictive, but
That
it
was
still
with
restricts
Merman,
abortion.
what was with Merman though, wasn't it?
Cal had 574.
574.
And they attached some kind of abortion restriction to 574.
So now they just changed to 12 weeks, yeah.
Because I remember Merman had talked about that, because I talked to him specifically, but I didn't get a chance to communicate with Kyle if that was what she was trying to do with him, if there was a connection with that.
I don't like
Well, and since Reapy
Yes,
is good seeing already.
My husband's waiting for me.
Oh,
so
sorry.
I just wanna-
You were naughty.
Otherwise, we're gonna keep you here for all kinds of
I
comments.
snuck up on you.
But I say if Reapy would have gotten, if Reapy would have
I'm
gotten
gonna go visit my daughter.
slapped
in the morning.
on the wrist
She likes
for what he
wine, but she
did,
doesn't often
maybe
get
he
it.
would have been promoting
They're just
eugenics
very
bills.
tight on their budget.
The next
After,
session,
and they-
he was
she doesn't
promoting
often get wine, so I
exceptions
said,
for fetal anomalies. I mean, an exception for fetal
I
anomalies.
think
is
he was
eugenics.
bought recently. I heard he received like more than $100,000 from Ricketts.
I can believe it.
Yeah. So he was bought. So I also encourage everyone, and then go to your county and vote no to both unborn initiatives. Because now the initiative 1 is full-term abortion. The initiative 2, they call so-called protect women and children, but actually they only ban abortion for the second and third trimesters. Because according to my research, because both me and my wife were working at the med center, we get the data from DHHS in 2022. 97% of the babies were aborted in the first trimester. 2,465 babies out of 2,547 babies were killed in first trimester. How can you say that's a pro-life? So they call, and even, because I collected the signatures for Choose Life Now, we just, that just established the personhood for every stage of development, the baby since conception. And then now we didn't collect enough signatures, because when we went to 90%, I collected my own family, we collected 770 signatures. I lost more than 10 pounds just in 3 weeks. I go to different counties, different parades, and different churches. You know what? Many churches, particularly Catholic churches, the priests and bishops, they receive some pressure from the government, and they send email to pastors, to the priests, and then only support the second petition, not the third one. So they kicked us out. Even I was on the sidewalk. They kicked me out.
And
And then now they're supporting, even all the faith community, they're supporting the second. Because of the money issue. Because now this is a constitutional amendment. So we have to vote no to both, and then to keep our constitution intact. Because since last year, they used the regular law, and then, they manipulated the 6 months, 6 weeks, heartbeat to the 12 weeks. Now they try to use the constitution to protect the 12 weeks, because a lot of people said, "Oh, we didn't ban the first trimester. Then we can use the lower law to fix that." No, that's lie. Because if the Constitution just said that, how could you use the lower law to fix the higher law? Because Constitution is the highest law.
Yes.
So we have to defend this. Because this is very important. Because I have a bunch of video.
What goes in the Constitution?
Recently, you can Google. I can show you.
No, you could go ahead, Google it. But I was going to ask. So when you bring that up, that's interesting, because in that context, the first thing that makes me think of is prohibited persons.
Yeah.
Right, because they have certain restrictions, certain lists of prohibited persons, people with domestic violence history or red flag laws. Maybe some kind of psychiatric history or some kind of history, and these people all have their constitutional rights. And they said, well, we've made subsequent laws that have made it okay to restrict the Second Amendment. How does that happen?
No.
And so when the
So that's
when,
where that was being overturned by the Supreme Court.
correct, and
don't
there's
be-
That's what we're
yeah,
saying.
don't be
yes, even in California, and that was it the Ninth Circuit, and that's a very
That was
liberal.
going back and forth though too. There was some debate they were still going to uphold it, and they turned around and then they surprised a lot of them where they turned around and said, no, this is a violation.
Yeah, well, they gave that guy like 53 years.
So we are,
Yeah,
because
that's what they had stacked on him.
because
that they
a
overturned.
lot of, even the churches, even our party, even Douglas County, and then they said, oh, vote no for the first one and
Right.
yes for the second one. No, because the two questions just independent.
Right.
Because Secretary of State, we have the law. Each question should have more yes than no, and then can out of the ballots.
Yes.
If both out of ballots, and then the more yes is gonna go to the Constitution. So if both if both have more no than yes, and then neither of them gonna out of the ballots. So our Constitution gonna be unchanged. Why should we change our Constitution? Think about it. Because currently our Constitution is very good. So why are you doing this? And then even I just tell you last our DCRP meeting, and then the Nebraska Life Right to Life, that organization who
Yes,
just
yeah.
promoted Nebraska Right to Life. They promoted the second petition.
Which one?
The-
Second one
the
is that the first
protect
one?
women and children. Only protect the second and third trimesters. That
No.
the petition. Nebraska Right to Life.
Wow.
Do you know that?
Yeah, Sandy Denick.
Yeah, so we confronted her, and then we said, because now there are some doctors, and then go to Nebraska Supreme Court, said we want to withdraw the first petition, the full term, out of the ballots and withdraw that. And then it may be successful. So we asked her, if the first petition initiative
We got it.
if the first one is withdrawn, are you guys gonna also withdraw? Because your foundation said we are fighting against the first one because they said, oh, the first one is so scary, so dramatic, and then we can use the compromise one to beat the first one. But if the first one withdrawn, so there's no reason, no foundation for you guys, is right? We just asked her, are you gonna withdraw? She said no.
Wow.
That's interesting.
I just tell you,
Yeah.
if she's your friend, but I don't care.
I don't know her like that. I showed up at their organization one day just out of the blue. I just showed up on their doorstep because we've been researching child abuse in this state for the past 5 years. We did an audit on the social service systems to try and test them for a double standard, and what we found is DEI metrics being applied to social services as well. So the
That's
way
actually pretty profound because I had seen a lot of that actually in Washington State and Oregon.
Yeah.
But that we have a lot more members in my research group in those two states. That's why we have a lot more focus on that. We're able to get more information. There was a case currently out there where parents are in a position now where they could easily lose their rights to their children if a child decides that they're non-binary now. And if the parent decides, I'm sorry, but you need to wait till you're older to decide this.
Yeah, Cali.
They can take those children
Oregon too?
now. Oregon they're hearing on it right now.
Oregon Harvest.
No, Oregon State.
Oregon State.
Oregon State. Because I got into studying Washington State with the Seattle, the chop block, and the freedom stuff that they were doing back then.
Look up idea laundering that happened through Evergreen State College.
I've already researched
You know about that?
I'm
James
very-
Lindsay, Brett Weinstein.
James Lindsay's behind the times. Brett Weinstein I actually been
He's
following
pretty
him
up on
for
it.
years.
Okay.
I knew about that before they even made those videos, but that's another story.
Okay.
But along that line, to me, in a sense, in our research group, this was kind of a test. You know how they had protests and everything out there years ago?
Yeah.
This is that was like a testing ground for what we've been seeing here throughout our country. In many of these same ways, these organizations have popped up in different universities. But we call these cells. These are like different Antifa groups. These are different communist groups and Marxist groups that have been instituted and placed within many universities throughout our country. And these are being supported by a lot of our unions, the teachers union too. A lot of the teachers.
The Long March to the Institutions, where I just came from, the guy at Pizza Ranch, he's a big Trump guy, but he had never heard of it. I said,
Really?
you know, the Long March is, he said, and I said, you don't know that they've been running communist ideologies through our country to decimate it for the past 50 years. And I said, hey, can I add you on Facebook? Is there a way I can keep you?
Well,
So
I don't
he's
post
like
it. My daughters have a YouTube channel that it's where it's for kids.
Okay.
And me being a school bus driver, I have to stay clear of a lot of it.
Yes.
You understand what I mean?
That's why we got a podcast running, but you haven't been on it yet, so we can hear your voice.
Oh yeah.
But you're not on it. So,
But what I could, I would have to do it. I would have to make sure obviously clear any of my affiliations. These are my own opinions.
and if you're interested, I'd like to do we could do a further a long form podcast and really get into some of these things. Yeah, because I do the same thing. I've been researching this stuff, and I was gonna take it to the federal government because we weren't sure that there was a competent mechanism to resolve it on the state level, which is frustrating for local government. But then we started to see that the same thing plays on federal government. You saw that, you know, the president got shot. Five women murdered the president. And it should put women in the and she does, and she used them as a human shield, and that's an issue of temperament.
I'm going to give you another point. Now this is something that kind of got buried. Now that young man that was the shooter in the Trump shooting, the Trump assassination attempt, you know he went to Stanford.
Okay.
Stanford has a very active.
No, he's not the true shooter. The true shooter just came from the Secret Service.
Well, you and I know that, but he was a fall guy.
Yeah.
But you also got to look at how they manipulated him within getting that, so he
Yeah,
would
the
be the scapegoat.
psychiatrist.
There's a whole mental
The mind
psychology.
control science. You know,
Yeah,
the
condition.
CIA and the FBI was doing that for many years.
They're still doing it, but that's another
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
But the thing about it was,
After Party podcast. Trying to save America.
but within that,
appreciate you.
there was some connections that we caught just initially of him, because I spent hours going through Stanford videos trying to find him at various points. We hadn't located him yet in that, because one of the strangest things about him, especially with his background, everything had been scrubbed. We could not find anything. So whatever they used some kind of metrics or some kind of technology to go through and scrub stuff.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is if there was something of him that was removed or clipped.
Okay.
So there was, like I said, he had no fingerprint. And that was one of the craziest things about it, especially with his background and everything. For someone of his background, he should have had some sort of Facebook.
That is interesting.
I mean, sometimes it's not what's in front of you, it's what's not.
In front of you. That's what's missing.
Exactly.
Looking at.
And that's where you have to look at the bigger picture of it.
So the reason I want to talk to Sandy Denton is because I found, and I know he was the one that's interested in Denton, but I found that there's a correlation between the abortion lobbyists and child abuse in general. Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense just on the face of it. But what I had was, we were auditing a situation where a child was being, the government was intervening in a private custodial matter, using social services, and they were doing things that were against the child protective measures. They were like in contravention of it.
Correct.
And when I pushed them on it, like, why are you doing this to this child? The lady finally, I kept walking down, you know, I kept like following the road where it takes me, walking down the suppositions until I get to a point where they're finally cornered, where they were ordering food taken away from the child. The child was malnourished at the time, and they were ordering the food withheld from the child, physically taking food from the child. So I asked them, I said, okay, now this really doesn't make sense. So explain to me why you're doing this. And the lady told me, it's like this. I'm pro-choice. And that was her whole entire explanation.
Yeah, I just want,
you know,
want
for
you
child
guys
abuse.
to,
When you support child
you
abuse,
know,
I asked her why. And
the website no2boast.org, okay? And then this black pastor, he's in South Dakota.
Okay.
And then he's pastor in South Dakota. And then because his children are still in Nebraska, originally came from Nebraska. So he's watching
Took
those,
the initiative.
yeah, the initiative, and then he got a very good,
But this all goes back to my point about how fathers are the protective mechanism for children in our society. And so this guy is in South Dakota,
And then you can know the black people
I'm about to
history
turn my
because at the
phone on
time,
and switch over
you know,
service.
no
This guy
compromise.
doesn't live here
He spoke
anymore.
very
He's still
good.
working to protect his
Just
kids
go to this
with
website.
organization, and this is what we talked about. The CDC
No,
sociological
no to-
model for protection from violence for children
Both. So
is an inverted
the Jewish
pyramid
PO,
with the child,
no to
the
both.
community,
Yeah,
the NGOs, and then the government. So if this guy
Yeah,
can't
remember that,
protect
and then
his
you
kids
listen
by
up, and
building
then
an NGO
you
that
resonate with that,
lobbies
and
for
then
the laws,
spreading
he
that
might actually take
to
the
as many
initiative to go and run
as Nebraskans, because we need
and try and
really
get involved
protect
personally in the
our
government.
constitution.
I'm
Even
okay
we
with it.
put the hell and death word into our constitution. You know, the curse gonna come to our state. Because when I was praying, Lord just showed me N-E. N means no, E, evil. No evil, the shedding innocent blood. So this is Nebraska's destiny. The heartland of America, the heart of our Godfather. But you know, the enemy, Satan, they try to just using the abortion, particularly in the Constitution, is the foundation, and shift the foundation of our state, and then to bring our state into curse. We have to protect. This is really like never before.
Yes.
I mean, so now I'm fighting for both battles. One is CD2. CD2, you know, this vote has to go to Trump because, like today, this is very. And then the other is this, you know, no to both. You know, because this November in Nebraska, we have to fight for both. You know, this battle.
No, you're right. No, it's not over yet. We got.
So you know,
we have the long fight.
God is using Trump to expose
Yeah,
corruption in our government to turn Americans back to the founding principles of Christianity that built our country. That's why we made a shirt. We made a shirt last year that said, "I don't believe in atheists," and people said, "Oh,
I
that's
was an atheist.
Yeah, but I don't believe you actually were. If,
So
if you were born in America,
Do you know how did I believe in Jesus?
Tell me about it.
Yeah, I was because when I campaigned even in the GOP, I said Jesus supernaturally saved and transformed me from a liberal atheist into a Christian patriot. Because previously I was supporting Obama. I love Obama. If I was very liberal, I was supporting the 4-term abortion. I was supporting all the liberal agenda. I was like because I'm a
You were like
college. I'm a college professor. My PhD was you know, population genetics, human population genetics, evolutionary genetics. So you know, I look at myself as an elite. So you know, so I never. People ask me to go to church. I rebuke them. I said, "You're losers. I'm winner. I only trust in science and myself." So I rebuked them. You know, I was like that. But until 2009. I was in a nice floor in Hilton Hotel because I was persecuted, like you know, that's like a 10 years cultural revolution in my academic field. So that time I just feel there's no hope. And then in the downtown Denver in Hilton Hotel, nice floor, I opened the window and I also church. I said, "I'm a winner. You're losers. So now as a winner, I should die successfully." So and then suddenly I heard an audible voice said, "I love you. Don't jump." Wow, instantly I knew that's God's voice, but I don't know who he is. In my atheist mindset, just came to all. I tried to end my life. And then I want to know who you are, and then I can die successfully. I told him, even you are God, you cannot stop dying successfully. So then I asked him, who are you? And then he told me, I'm Jesus. Wow, that was the last name I could think about, audible voices. And then I feel a supernatural power in drag me in. And then he asked me to open the drawer. This is a Gideon Bible. He asked me to open the Bible. I just opened it randomly. It just came to 1 John. God is love. And then the TV was playing a song. You know, that's the love song. You know, for so many years, I was a very tough person. I never had tears. But at the time, my whole body was broken and shaking, and the tears burst down my face. And then I knew, because that song, the love song, just, I can't smile without you. You know that song? You know, I can't smile without you, can't smile without you. So my whole body was shaking, the tears burst down. And then I know this Jesus, he's true God. And he's chasing me, he found me. Later, when I read Bible, you know, he said he left a 99 and just chased for that one. I was like, saved like that. So, yeah. Surgeries, I lost my job for 15 months. And then one day, I had nothing. I lost my health. I almost died for you know, I had 4 surgeries. I almost died from sepsis because I had more than 1,000 stones in my liver bile ducts in 2013 to 2014. So one day I had nothing. I was reading Bible. I read the shortest Bible verse, Jesus wept. And then I started to cry. I didn't know why. I asked Jesus why I cried. That was October 2013. With no job, no money, no position, no health. And then just Jesus. And then I was crying. I didn't know why. I asked Lord. I asked Jesus. I said, why am I crying? And then he just brought me back to September 2009. At the time, he told me, he said, Peng, as a person as stubborn as you, I used 3 supernatural ways to save you. First, I was calling audible voices in Chinese, because Chinese is my mother language. He said, I love you, don't jump. And then second, I asked you to open the Bible, the Bible scripture, God is love, 1 John. And then third, I was using the song, Can't Smile Without You. Because previously I couldn't understand. I thought I can't smile without him. He said, no, I can't smile without you. If you jumped, I'm going to be weeping for you. So I was resurrected like Lazarus. So later when I just prayed, I saw a vision. I was in the cliff. And then the bottom is the lake of fire. I was going to jump. And right on that moment, he stretched his right arm and saved me. So not only physically, but also spiritually. Because if I jumped at that time, I was going to go to hell. Because I purposely denied him. So, and then later I Googled that song. The song was released in 78. I was born in 78. And then the songwriter's first name is Christian. That's not coincidence. So later, all the things, and then I just 180 degree changed. Previously, I was rebuking those. I was hating all the conservative people. I said, you people, you just believe that religious, that the culture is evolved. You should follow. I just thought, because at the time I was a Democrat. I think the Democrat is advanced, is evolved. You guys just still stay in the ancient, that the religious, that things. I was rebuking them every day. So I was very liberal. But how could I become such as so conservative? Because of Jesus, because he loves us, and then he gives us the righteousness. His love leads us into repentance. So a lot of people don't understand. So even recently, when I just ask people, well, no to both, most persecutors came from where? The church. Because the hypocrites, so I was like a Saul to Paul, Paul to Saul, a Saul to Paul, yeah. And then
I know what you mean.
when Paul went back to the Jewish people persecuted him. He's right, because previously he was persecuting the Christians. Because currently I experienced the same thing, but I don't care, because I know my Jesus asked me to do the righteous things. Even in my party, I don't care. I just keep speaking truth in love. I don't care, because God loves.
You do care. That's what He wants us to do.
Yeah.
So, no, you're fine.
Yeah.
You keep testifying.
Yeah. Just keep spreading the truth. Let people well know to both. Yeah. And then America shall be saved.
That's why I'm here now.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's true, man, that there are things that affirm your faith. Like, all right, so I'm a wholesaler. So a wholesaler is basically like
they're not a car salesman by any means.
No,
I'm saying it's
I manipulate markets. And so basically, a wholesaler is an opportunist in a free market society where that light bulbs are expensive in this district and that corn is expensive in this district. So you wholesale them both and you transpose them. Yeah, okay. So my job is like wholesale and retail, and I do tattoo work. And so I never expected to be doing the kind of work that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm doing it was this. Oh, that's
your dessert.
That's my dessert for Pizza Ranch. Thank you, Mama. She can't forget about her baby boy. Yes, my mom.
Oh wow, yeah, very good mom.
But no,
she's a sweetheart.
Yeah, I'll say. But no, I was saying. So when I got called to work in the human rights field, I'm like, I'm not good at this. I'm not good at writing reports. Like, I'm not necessarily an analyst by trade, but then I start looking for things. I start noticing things. I don't even look for them, but they come to me, these affirmations like, okay, the premise of human rights work is that it follows the natural law that we're created in God's image.
Yeah, God,
and
law
you,
of nature. Yeah.
and you must respect the sovereignty
God
of
nature.
man being created in God's image. And
Yes.
the government is
Amen.
subject to that.
Yes.
And so that's the nature of my work. And my daughter was born January 27th. And her name is Genesis.
This last year or this year?
2012.
2012.
But if you go to Genesis
Your daughter's
127.
12 years old.
Oh,
Mine's
one-
14.
Yep.
Mine's 14 and 17.
I mean,
Okay.
128 is be fruitful and multiply
Yes.
and take dominion.
And 27,
Yeah,
127 is God creates man in
And
his image.
yes,
Image of God, man and woman, in the image of God, he created them.
wow.
And so it's crazy because that's the work I do.
Yeah.
Is protecting.
And then your daughter was born in January 27th.
Yes.
Wow.
So it just lines right up with that
That's
verse.
so
So it's,
prophetic.
I always find stuff like that when I talk to other Christians. I find that there's affirmation everywhere we look. You know.
Yeah.
I get skeptical when I meet people and they say they don't believe in God because I say, "Oh, now you're just being hard-headed. Look at that sunset over there. Look at that waterfall. Look at
Yeah.
that bird singing. Look at that baby being born." You
Yeah.
don't believe in God. Look
Well,
at the miracles around us.
That's one of the things I try to push even with the kids on the bus. Is like you got. I had one of the hardest routes. This is probably about 9 years ago. South Omaha route projects. I mean, I got kids that they're getting dropped off, and drug dealers are picking them up right at
Yeah,
the
like
stop.
29th Street down
Yeah,
there.
down there. Yeah, it's pretty rough down there. But
Could be better.
I know
the South Omaha project.
I mean, we had
They
seven-
tore the projects down throughout Omaha, and they didn't tear down the South Omaha
There's a
project.
reason
Yeah,
why I have my
I
feelings
I
on
have
that.
to go, but I think have you heard the Opening Heavens conference in Council Bluffs from because my church is the Lord of Hosts Church, and recently they invited that Seth
You guys had Charlie Cook out there, right?
Seth Kruger.
Okay.
Yeah, he's he gave very good words, and then he's gonna.
Is that who Turning Point brought?
His movie 1916 Project all just talk about pro-life, and then this Sunday he just gave 2 services about he talk about the root of the plan.
What's your
Planned
church name?
Parenthood. Lord of Hosts.
Lord of Hosts. Okay.
Yeah, so I
I've heard you
suggest
guys.
you.
I've never
I
been
suggest you to go to the Mid America Center. We're gonna have the special conference. Flashpoint. I don't know. Have you heard of Flashpoint? Yeah. So if you go there,
I researched way too much leftist stuff.
Yeah,
I should look into some of the other stuff.
yeah,
I
because
think.
we are a bunch of
College.
Christian patriots and then saving this country.
Good
And then so he's gonna show his movie 1916 Project. Just talk about the root of the Planned Parenthood and Nazism, and then the eugenics,
Anti-natalist movement,
and those things,
There's
and
some,
then
there's some weird stuff with that.
yeah. So I suggest you do Saturday night, 4:00. We're gonna have that that
This is
movie.
coming Saturday?
Yeah, the coming Saturday. This Saturday. Yeah, you can just watch that movie in because the conference is free. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's at the American Center?
Mid America Center in Council Bluffs.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check it out, man.
Yeah.
When is it?
This next Saturday.
This-
And you said we
this
could
Saturday.
stream
This
it
coming
on.
Saturday.
You
Yeah.
said we could stream it.
That's September 14th. September 14th.
And it's at the Mid America.
Yeah. America Center. Yeah.
And it's a day-long conference.
No, we started from Thursday night.
Oh, okay.
The day after tomorrow.
Okay.
So Thursday night, and then Friday whole day, Saturday whole day, and Saturday and Sunday half day. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you have time, and then the flashpoint, I'm gonna have a table to register. Ask the Christians to register. Ask the people register. To vote for Trump, and also promote Trump Force 47. Also, My Faith Votes. Do you know that website? And then people ask for Christians to register and vote biblically. So, and also, vote no to both.
Yes.
So I'm going to promote this, and then.
Is this considered a private event?
No, it's not. Yeah.
Because I'm trying to.
Opening the heavens.
Open to the
conference.
public, it says.
Okay. Yeah. What
Because
else?
I'm on the.
Yeah. You found it, is right? Opening Heavens Conference.
Oh, there we go, right there. Okay.
Yeah, Logos Church. Yeah, our church just in the pizza machine at the plaza. Yeah, that's our church. You know Charlie Kirk, the winner take all.
Yeah.
That event was in our church. Yeah, because at the time my
Yeah,
pastor,
you guys get all the.
Were you there?
communists, You get, oh, no.
I was at.
Were
when
you
he-
there?
No, I was when he spoke in Lawrence. I was at that event, and then the guy who's the director of Turning Point Faith asked me to come. Paul Burnett. He asked me to come to an event here in Omaha, but I couldn't find it. I didn't know which church it was at.
Do you find that the Lord of Hosts the Opening Heavens Conference?
Events.
Yeah, events. You just type.
Oh, you hit connect. There we go. Prayer fasting.
Opening Heavens Conference.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
Mid
what
American Center. Yeah. Yeah, and then the movie, you know.
Oh, you didn't let me take a picture
Yeah,
of it.
there's a agenda Saturday night, you know.
I wanted to take screenshots of it, so I don't miss it.
The Saturday night they have 1960 project 5 p.m. You see.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's just all talk about the not only I think mainly just talk about the pro-life, and then because this guy Seth Gruber, he's the ministry White Rose Resistance, the leader, and then his mom just fighting against the abortion, against Planned Parenthood, you know, for like decades, and then his mom just passed away because of cancer. But he's continuing with his mom's ministry, and then he just gave so that movie is very important. And then he's also talking about the transgender. So now the Planned Parenthood not only just support abortion, but also now the transgender, the puberty blocker, all came from the same organization. So he's giving you the history, all the history.
It all comes from gender studies.
You would be surprised actually what some of the communists and Marxists within the queer side of that have done, where they're using testosterone actually as a party drug right now. We actually have video of them talking about that because it creates a kind of a high. So they're using this also as a party drug, and they're also doing. This is why we're seeing so many more transgender actually being young women, because they're more easily to manipulate.
Like you said, they all just try to twist the image of God and try to blaspheme God, and then so that's the satanic worship, is right. So that's why they gain the dark power. It's all spiritual. So this is a spiritual warfare, but actually, because a lot of people don't understand it.
It's because the devil can't create anything. The devil can't create anything. He can only subvert God's word.
Manipulate, yeah.
So God creates everything. God
so that's why another prophet, Robin Bullock, just said that Satan is a scientist.
Yeah.
So because he would have to be.
He used the scientific, manipulate like a hybrid. So that's why they have the COVID vaccine. So like the COVID vaccine, because I'm doing the research in the genetics, they have the RNA guided the DNA alteration.
Well, that was something that really
so they want to get the hybrid human being, just like in Genesis. You remember Genesis, the main the sons of God, and then just craving for men's daughters, and then they just mix the hybrid that the giants, the Nephilim. Actually, the Nephilim is kind of like a genetic engineered human, but not human anymore. So they're still manipulating. So that's why God later just using the big flood because at the time the whole earth, because of the sin, and then He wants to save the pure human beings, our species, and then God's image, because only Noah and his family, the 8 people, they're pure blood. So the pure blood is
why they live.
Yeah, but now they're doing the same thing. They try to use the transgender. They try to use the vaccine to still change the human species, and then demonize us, and not only just spiritual, but physically, the DNA. Because the Lord just showed me the DNA is the core value of God's creation and the body. So they try to change our body
Well, see, that was something like when Dr. Malone was talking about, where he had expressed at one point, he's like, this is a genetic modification.
Yeah, genetic modification.
Because he was expressing, this is too dangerous, especially for this to be utilized for a vaccine, because this should never have been.
Because since the beginning, because I'm a geneticist, I was warning all the churches, don't take the vaccine, but I also received I
was refused services from one of my elementary schools when all that was going on, because they were trying to push me into getting the vaccine for myself and my daughters, and I was like, I'm sorry.
No, I don't take any vaccine for my kids.
Well, what bothered me, because initially I had studied respiratory therapy, and I tutored students in that field actually at Metro years back, and I was part of the safety department, which actually had to follow OSHA, EPA, lots of regulations. So I had to know what actually protected. You'd go to like an industrial hygienist for the materials and equipment to protect you as a doctor, right? And I was like, I worked with an industrial hygienist before. I'm like, what you're telling these people this is supposed to protect them, this does nothing.
No,
I mean, well, one of the things that bothered me too was like, I mean, there was research that came out later on, like N95 masks, where they were saying they're only about 3 to 5% effective, and because that was actually the only real thing that would have offered any protection to some degree. But to find out later on, because
Bill Gates, they just have
depopulation. Well, the thing that bothered me about it was
we depopulating all right.
Well,
166, we fell below our replacement rate.
Well,
replacement rate's 2-1.
The thing that bothered me the most by it was when you're getting people that are making, like, say, some of the scientific reports, but they're just reading, say, some of the top rather than going through the data in it. And I'm one that sits down and is like, okay, I need to see the knuckles and bolts so I can make my own opinion of it rather than accept someone else's. Even if they're scientists and still want to look at the work, how they
don't trust the scientists.
Well,
I'm scientist. Don't trust the Fauci, the false scientist.
My God. Well, the CDC, can't trust the scientists anymore. I listen to
because I'm a scientist. I don't trust those public scientists.
Well, one of the things that bothered me too was rather than just say, I went into some of their Zoom meetings where they're discussing some of the research, how they're coming to decisions before they actually made it. And they were, this was one when they were talking about giving the shots to children under 6. And when I was going, the reasoning behind it didn't make sense to me, because I'm like, for that age group, especially say infants early on, they're protected by the mother's genetic. They carry that across through the blood. Through when they're born, they have their mother, some of their mother's immunity.
Trusting God's created immunity.
Okay, exactly. Yeah. Well, then what also bothered me too was how this was being the vaccines which were given to mothers, it was being transferred through their breast milk. These vaccines are being transferred to infants too.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
because it caused a lot of miscarriages.
That was something that should have been in the
or
news,
because recently I have some young, even Christians, they took the shots, and then I have several friends that their babies just abnormally smaller than regular babies, so they need to have procedure, and eventually, we pray for them. Eventually, the babies were born. But I just warn them, don't take the vaccine. But a lot of people, they trust in the science. I said, are you trusting Jesus or science? Because I'm a scientist. And then they just, so they sometimes when people are blinded, they just.
Well, see, that's kind of like where the
people are scared too.
Both me, because my wife, she got MD PhD from Yale Med School.
Okay. And
then maternal fetal medicine. So that's why we just did the research for this second petition. We got the research at the 97% of babies. We got the DHHS data from Nebraska, and then we just collect. And then she's maternal fetal medicine, and then they're very tricky. They don't show the first trimester how many. But my wife, she has the expertise, and then she know all the first trimester babies should be less or equal than 100 gram. So she just collect all the babies and less or equal than 100 gram, and then just divide and then get that. I'm doing population genetics, and then I'm good at the statistics. So I just do the data analysis, and then we found this 96.78%. Yeah, so 97%.
Yeah.
So how? Don't tell me this is a pro-life.
Do you think the COVID the COVID, what do you call them, preventative measures that were instituted by the government, do you think it was a large psyop?
Can I still tell you what I found?
Sure.
Because in my lab I can download all the different strains of COVID-19.
I was tracking
COVID-19 viruses. I mean the scientific term is SARS-CoV-2.
Yeah.
Because the first one is SARS-CoV.
Yeah.
Okay, that was in 2003 in China. That was very lethal, is right?
I remember that.
Yeah, you remember that? And then, so this one, according to my research, and then we compare the sequence, the SARS-CoV-2, the homologous rates, just like a same, sequence, the sequence.
No, I understand what
the
you're
overlapping. That rate is 89%.
Correlation?
No, the similarity.
Oh.
Yeah, just the same sequence.
Yeah.
80, I forgot, yeah, but 89%, like a 78 or something. But another like 11%, I just mapped the COVID the virus against all the available viruses. You know what I found? The spike protein that was inserted. That was the human, that spike protein.
That's exactly what
Yeah,
I heard.
yeah,
There are several other geneticists that actually are exactly.
I found that the spike protein 70% just 30% just perfect match with HIV virus, and 70%
that I didn't know.
and
HIV,
70% matched with measles virus. So that's 100% human engineered. And then have you heard of a gain of function?
Yeah.
So that's they use. Have you heard of a CRISPR-Cas9 technology?
I'm not that
So
familiar.
CRISPR-Cas9 called the gene scissors. They can use that to insert or knock out or knock in any DNA fragment.
That's a code.
Yeah, we call the gene scissors.
Well, that goes along.
So that's the RNA. So in 2020, the Nobel Prize winner for chemistry, just CRISPR-Cas9, the creator. And then the same year they had the RNA COVID vaccine. Are you kidding me? That's not coincidence because I'm an expert in this field. So I feel.
One of the things that kind of concerned me that too. I mean, I can't remember. It wasn't that long.
So So they use the COVID vaccine, and then the COVID vaccine they specifically use the RNA, and then specific for the spike protein. What I said, 30% came from HIV, 70% from measles virus. So I didn't have time to do the functional analysis because I'm doing bioinformatics, and then I didn't have any funding because I cannot get NIH funding, right? So that's my personal, I use my personal time to do that research, and now I cannot publish it because the whole mainstream publisher gonna deny that. You see what I mean? So I can only just talk to my friends just like this. So they just using that the RNA technology used in the vaccine as a disguise, and then transfer that spike protein, human engineered, and then gain a function. That 100% engineered the fragment, the spike protein, inserted into human DNA. So that's very dangerous. You see what I mean?
See, that's something that actually I was concerned about because when they were discussing how this was actually altering human DNA later on, where it's being added on, and then once you get it, you're not getting rid of it, or it could be a long period of time, 7 to 15 years, and then maybe you might.
But but we cannot give the enemy too much power because even the scissors has off target. We call it off target. The off target rate may be very, very high. I didn't have any data for this, but and also
that's something I'm curious.
But my faith is Jesus' blood, because the Lord just showed me His blood has His DNA. So every time I was praying, His DNA can replace that edified DNA.
Exactly.
So but there's a requirement. If you don't believe in Jesus, repent to accept Jesus, and then repent, and then He's gonna heal you, and then replace your DNA, the modified DNA. But you are Christians. No matter you're just deceived, like took the vaccine, took the shots,
I didn't take it.
yeah, just like without asking the Lord, without seriously doing some research, and then you just, no matter you're you're purposely doing this or just just recklessly did this, you need to repent. So the Lord just showed me, once you repent, you ask the blood of Jesus, the DNA of Jesus to replace your DNA, and then He's gonna do that miracle. But you have to repent.
Well, that reminds me of something too, because like even in genetics net, we have some control over switching.
Yeah.
And that's where that would be like, if you're repenting, you're going to shut those switches off, and you'll be covered by the blood of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I mean, so that goes along exactly with what I.
But we have to repent. If you don't repent, because a lot of Christians say, "Oh, you're lying. We don't trust," and we just keep doing the shots of some aspect. Other people, I don't know. I don't know whether you're going to be saved or not. Even because at the time, my religious exemption, I used the mark of beast, because I used the mark of beast as my religious exemption at UNMC, because UNMC at the time, no job.
I had friends at UNMC. Actually, UNMC actually banned me for a period of time on Facebook, and then they would. I knew a variety of. I used to make deliveries down there. I used to work for Hellgate Gas Products. I delivered the liquid nitrogen for the bone marrow. I did plus for the research section within the one of the genetic labs. Actually, I can't remember. There's so many different labs down there that we made deliveries to, especially gases and things like that. And like I said, I wanted to talk to. There was a few people down there I wanted to talk to earlier on to get their opinions, because they're experts on it. You understand what I mean? And I wanted their thoughts on some of this rather than go to the media or listen to what was being suggested by those people. But they basically just kept pushing me off to the public relations department. I'm like, I don't need to talk to you. I know these people. Why are you guys keep trying? They wouldn't. The numbers had been changed, and that I could not get to hold of the people. And then they banned me on Facebook because I was.
That's like a communist.
Oh, it was bad. No, well, it was
controlling the media.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And then I tried to initially go onto YouTube and then YouTube started acting very weird. And after getting banned on Facebook, I was like, okay, I can see where this is going. I got to play walk a very tight line so they don't get banned me, so I can communicate with other people.
Yeah, because when at the time at UNMC, so they forced people to have that KN or N95 a mask. So I just, because in the news, we can just post the comments. So I posted my comments. I said, if you think the N or KN95 is effective, why, because we are talking about the true science. Because for those masks, you need to replace them every 1 or 2 hours.
Yes.
And then you need to properly discard them into a biohazard, like the trash can. But where can I find a biohazard trash can in the campus? I couldn't find anyone. So I just posted. You know what? They blocked my post, but they just released all the other posts. Oh, this is a good policy. We should follow.
Well, they were supposed to do some research because one of the things that they were supposed to do, because I was going through other channels at one point, but they were supposed to be doing some actual research on how to reuse the K95 mask, where they're using ultraviolet light. And do you remember that?
Yeah, I know.
Do you remember that? Because I started pressuring and said, well, I have not seen any data on this research you're doing on the viability of reusing these masks, because like I said, I worked in that field before, and I knew the length of time that these were supposed to be effective. And then after that, I was like, what's going on here? And then they were supposed to have this carousel thing, what they were doing, where people would be putting these masks on, but it didn't make any sense because you'd have to have a 360, you'd have to have a full, just kill this stuff off that way.
Yeah, so I just tell you, the science, because I feel so strong witchcraft, that the spirit in the medical field, because the medical field, that's
there's a
the modern medicine and modern pharmacy, even pharmacy, that root came from Greek, that pharmakia, that the Greek false god. So a lot of witchcraft in the medical field, in the current modern medical field. So that's why they suppressed ivermectin and HCQ, is right. So they don't want you because those big farm, if they if you
such a great thing in that.
yeah, if you even ivermectin can prevent and cure cancers, but because those are very cheap and very simple, and then if those diseases are cured, and then they cannot earn money for the big farm.
Yeah.
So the big farm, the witchcraft, they just like, so that's why they call their products drugs. Because the same as drugs, because if you take drugs, you're addicted to it. Like those drugs for the hypertension, for those, you just take, those people with chronic disease, they never cure your disease. They just keep letting you eating the drugs until you die.
It's anesthetic. Right?
Yeah, that's the same thing. That's the same thing. You're addicted to those medicine, and then they keep just earning money from you. And eventually, even now, the cancer, they spend so much money. And then for cancer, why they cannot cure? Because if there are some really breakthrough, that research, they just block it.
There was
You must be an RFK fan.
There was actually
Yeah, Bobby Kennedy.
Bobby Kennedy.
No, he actually had some very good points.
I'm telling you, and I think Trump's going to use him. I think he's going to use him in his administration somewhere.
Yeah,
Trump's got a lot of really good people to use that he's been able to.
I think in today's debate, he cannot expose too much information because a lot of people are not awakened.
Right. But imagine if he put Elon Musk in charge of something. If he put Tulsi Gabbard in charge of something.
Elon Musk,
if he
there's a few things I'm concerned about Elon, but he, like I said, I don't know enough about him.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, he has good PR, but I don't know enough about him.
But it's saying in the Bible, a hand is not a foot.
Oh no!
I think
he's true. Because at the beginning I also was doubting him because his mom was the highest, like a Satanist, like
I'm saying there's
some high priest.
That Bobby Kennedy is good for what he's good for, though. It's like you can always count on Bobby Kennedy to be skeptical of the medical field and be skeptical of censorship and to really like fine tune how to approach those things. I think he would be good for a lot of different positions.
Yeah, but Elon Musk, I think he's doing a very good job. I think previously I changed on my mind because previously I saw the news, because his mom was the high Satan, like. But I think he's just get away from the deep state, like Illuminati and like a Freemasonry.
But I think that when people talk about devil worship and all this, I mean, look at our Christian churches now. I'm LCMS. So Missouri Synod, we don't believe in female pastors. My dad's an ELCA pastor. My brother come to visit from California last weekend. I told him to come to church with us. He went to church with my dad. He got to watch my dad, act more or less like an usher. Well, some lesbian gets up and tries to preach the word of God. Now, like I said, like that in my estimation, that's blasphemous.
Yeah.
But like I said, the problem isn't really necessarily from outside of the church. The problem is from inside of the church. All this love is love stuff and all this.
No, the wishy-washy love, the liberal love.
But back to the question though about COVID. I'm curious though. What do y'all think about? Because all that is like the medical assessment, but then there was also, I'm concerned with like the behavioral psychology assessment of it. Like there's classical conditioning and there's operant behavioral conditioning. And doesn't it look like they were trying to test people for compliance and all these other things?
This was more than just a test.
It was more than that because
this is kind of one of the things because I was stepped back because I really was fighting this tooth and nail earlier on because I had worked in departments and I had to use equipment and put things on people to make sure they were kept safe.
Right.
And when I was stepping back, because I was trying to figure out why, sometimes the best question is asking, why is this being done? Okay, why are all the news channels pushing this? Why is our government? Because this didn't make sense because it didn't match everything I was trained to do.
There's a law
against your constitution, is right?
It's cui bono. It's who benefits. Where's the benefit?
The benefit I see, because this is something that surprised me. This got rid of anybody that was really questioning.
Yeah.
If you had people in the medical field who were questioning it or fighting it, these are people that would not go along with future things.
It enabled the censorship because there's a mechanism in your nervous system
called the insular cortex,
Yeah.
which regulates. It's a discuss mechanism,
Yeah.
and they were ginning that up when they were sitting here telling people, if your neighbor doesn't wear a mask,
Yeah.
he wants to kill your grandma.
Yeah.
He's gonna grieve on grandma.
Yeah,
She's
people
gonna die.
Just trust those lies.
And, but not only were they but they trusted him, but they became galvanized by that. You know what I mean?
Indoctrinated. They're
indoctrinated, but it's the strongest. But this is how what happened in World War II happened.
Peer pressure.
Well, yeah, but it's the strongest. It's the one that, like, this is how what happened in World War II happened.
Yeah.
How he almost exterminated a group of people.
Yeah,
by telling
Jewish people. They did the same thing.
By triggering the insular cortex, by triggering that disgust mechanism response, where he's, like comparing
This goes along exactly in how you get soldiers to execute people that are their neighbor.
Yes.
This goes exactly along that line. I cannot remember.
Yeah, at the time, because once I feel a huge discrimination when people know I didn't get the vaccine in their eyes, and then and also those, particularly at UNMC, and then because they ask people, when you take the vaccine, you need to put the like a yellow dot on your badge, and then you unvaccinated people don't have the yellow dots. At the time, the Jewish people, you also need to put the yellow dots, is right, and then to say you're Jewish.
Yeah.
And then that's the same thing. Because at the time I was really scared, because I confronted our vice chancellor. I said, I came from China. If you just have this vaccine mandate, I think the bottom line is no vaccine mandate, because I came from China. This is like a communism. This is like a Marxism. I just confronted him. I give him all the papers and those things. He just denied all the scientific. I just don't care. I said, I don't care, because he's even a Christian. He's my previous church's deacon's board chair.
It's a barrier between the private and the public.
So how could? So that's why I get away from my previous church. If you are like a deacon's chair, you are promoting this vaccine mandate, and 1 month later they promoted this. They just had this vaccine mandate to all over the campus, and also he's also supporting all this 70 pronouns, and then he even just talked about that in the KETV 7, and he also support all the LGBTQ agenda. Are you kidding me? You're deacon's board chair, in not that I don't want to say more things in the church, more than 2,000 church members, and then the mega church, and the deacon's board chair. Because previously he was very deceptive. Previously I was thinking he's the most person who looked like Jesus. He looked very humble, and then he can just kneeling down and pray for your healing anytime, every time he hugged, and then he looked very humble. But once he came to the most important things, he all fell. So I just cut off from his family. That's not easy, because previously they invited me to their houses. Even at the time, I didn't have a job for 15 months. You know that. And then Lord just asked me to approach him, and then he just recommend me to all the department chair and then the deans, and then to introduce me, to recommend me, and then wrote like 8,800 words, and then because he just knew me in the church. We never had the conversation in the academic field, so that's kind of very conflicting to my mind. But
I want to take one more. I want to thank you for your time and the work you've done. Don't stop.
Yeah, I'm not gonna stop. But now, I'm still praying for him, because I don't care if he's deceived or not or something. But because now that, like you said, in the Christian community, even in the leadership, some people, they're purposely doing bad things. Some people, they are deceived by those false doctrines. Right. They thought they love people. They thought, at the time he used the Bible verse. He said, he said, God just gave us. He used the Bible verse. Give us not a spirit of fear, but love, power, and sound mind. So you just take the vaccine, and then you should believe that Jesus is going to protect you, and no side effects, no deaths. Because he said, the people died in the virus more than the people died in the vaccine. So that's like this sacrifice is worthy, because we need to save more people. So that's the same philosophy currently. The second petition and the first petition. The first petition, just 100 babies. And the second petition, 97. If we can still save 3 babies, we still say no. That's wrong, because I told people the same. The altar of Baal, 100 babies in this altar of Baal, 79 or 97 babies in the altar of Baal, or still to Baal. You open the altar of Baal. So how can you say this is righteous? No, that's wrong. You cannot, because God's way never just sacrifice the innocent blood to save. You sacrifice less innocent blood to save more. Innocent blood. No, that's not God's way. That's demonic. Because once you draw in the humanly, the love, you say, oh, I'm still saving people, because now the reality, you need to, no, that's not the reality. Because, you deceived so many people. So that's why now the Choose Life Now, the Protect Women and Children, they got the most votes. They got the most signatures, because all the churches, and then no matter Catholic and
because I was wondering about that. I was like wondering how they pulled all that, because I was fighting that tooth and nail as much as I could.
Because if you think, because they got the polls that 50% Nebraskans are pro-abortion. Are you kidding me? I was arguing with them. If you still think Nebraska is a red state, you think President Trump is going to win in Nebraska, and they just don't talk about the CD2.
You haven't been to our school board
even
meetings.
Even in 2020, the total votes for Trump still more than Joe Biden after the election fraud. So how could you, if you think Trump is going to win in this state, and then all the Trump supporters are not going to vote to the full-term abortion? So what are you afraid that the Nebraskans going to be woke as this level to pass that, more no's than yes to pass that initiative? There's no way. So because you are deceived also because of the money, because I exposed that Pete Ricketts. Pete Ricketts actually spent $2 million for the Protect Women and Children. You can check Nebraska. Nebraska Right to Life and Nebraska Family Alliance, they received a lot of monies. You can check the source of the monies. Pete Ricketts and the Gates Foundation. Because the money talks. Even their faithful, organization, but in this recently, they're corrupted. I must tell you, even your friend, Cindy, she's corrupted. So that's why, be cautious. Because, my friend, Dr. Davis, he used to be my best friend. But once he cannot be righteous in those things, I cut off from him. Right. Yeah, even my whole family previously, even his mom's birthday, his kids' graduation, they all invited us. We hugging each other like every day. But when I confronted him so many times, because Jesus also said that I came to this, not bring peace, but the sword. The enemies, the man's enemies are the family members. Fathers against the children, the sons, and then the daughter against daughter, the mother-in-law against daughter-in-law, those things. So now it looks like we're in the body of Christ, but now because God is shaking, and then review what is wheat, what is tare, and then we have to separate from them. Because I still love him. When I saw him, I still say hi, but I don't have any fellowship. I don't go to his house for fellowship, for Bible study, or for prayer, because otherwise I'm going to be deceived. I still love you. I can pray. I pray for their family every day, for the awakening, to get away from the wickedness. And then I also confronted him because he didn't listen. So I already did what the Bible, said. I can confront him privately, just one-to-one meeting, but he didn't listen.
Well, did you go with another to him, where two confront him at one point, or no?
No, I think because in the church just confronted him a lot.
But they talk about
he and his wife never listen.
They talk about that in Matthew, though. They talk about witnesses, and if you have a disagreement with a man, you take it to him in confidence. If he doesn't heed what you say, then maybe you take 2 witnesses with you.
Yeah,
and then you bring them before the body of believers. So,
especially if they're a leader.
Yeah,
especially if they're a leader, because then it's like, okay, we got to take care for the body of the church. Though she needs to be cared for.
But unfortunately, because the church pastor is also Democrat,
Oh man.
Really?
Yeah.
Now this is something.
So that's why
that stuff blows my mind
Now
because
this is something that I want to.
because at the time, you know, in 2020, when the
think-
media just announced that the Joe Biden won that on Saturday, and then the Sunday, that pastor just said, "Oh, congratulations, President Joe Biden." Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I think I don't know, because I think when you talk about the left and the right, I think being on the right is I don't know if it's the exact same. It's wholly in line with Christian principles.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can be
because the Bible Proverbs said the heart of the wise on the right,
yeah. You're
and
not
then
supposed, yes,
the
exactly.
fool on the left.
Well, that's what I'm saying is
One of the things,
I don't think you could be a Christian and be. Does that make sense? Especially right now. Look, Christians
Yeah,
can't
right
vote
now.
Democrat right now.
Yeah, because
No,
that's
no way.
because I just shared on my Facebook.
well,
If you vote for
being blinded, where they're blinded
Yeah.
and not seeing it, they may be Christian in thought, but they're blinded by what's in front of them. That's where our
they need
prayers
to
and
be
God-
awakened. So I just said,
Because
if you said you're Christians, you vote for Harris. You are not Christians.
Yeah, all Christian principles and values are incorporated in conservatism. Like,
Well, there's something that I want to bring up, and this is now, like I had explained to you, I don't know if I had to get a chance to delve in it. I'm part of a research group, and I've been part of this for about 4 years now, and we delve into actual communist groups throughout the United States. We research, we listen to what they're teaching, not so much just to their members, but and most of these surprisingly are professors in universities across the United States, from from Berkeley to Columbia University actually has the highest number of Marxist and communist professors today. And that's where we see most of them coming from, especially the activist ones.
Yeah, because because I told I discussed with another pastor who just heard a person from the deep state, but now became a Christian, and he told him that because the deep state, when they try to destroy a country, if they cause the war and then the money, if they spend money to the education to destroy indoctrinate the second generation. So in the education, they only spend like 1/5 of the money instead of causing the war.
Yeah.
Because causing the war, they need to spend more, 5-fold more than just spend on the education.
Yeah.
So now that's why they just spend money to the school board, to the professor, to the university.
Well,
so
that's why
indoctrinate people. So that's easy. So now that's why, I'm a PhD. My wife, she's MD PhD. But now I don't want our kids to, if the university, if the school just don't change, I would like my kids just they don't go to the college. They don't, they don't necessary to go to the college.
I'm gonna put my kids in trade school, or I'm gonna have a little bit of money saved.
But now
up for my
I'm
kids
awakened
if they wanna
because
start a business.
previously as a Chinese, Chinese people always emphasize the education, But now I'm awakened. I said no. If they just indoctrinated like they have, like in my laboratory, because I'm the only one because I'm the only Christian. All others are Hindus and Muslims, so they all took shots.
Yep.
One shot after shot. I warned them several times. They argue. I argue with them. I because they know I'm Christian. Even sometimes I don't talk about God. I just said we need to honor the true science, but they are blinded. They're so pride. They thought, oh, punk, you're the. So they just thought I'm a stupid Christian. Like a zealous.
It kills me hearing that. Not kills me.
Now they already have like a 5th of 7th or 6th or 7th shots.
I actually had friends I lived with for a long period of time. 2 of my friends were from India, but they're Christians that fled there because of the caste system in India. It's very ruthless, and you understand how the caste system. If you're a Christian within India and you cross a line within other castes within the Hindu religion, they will come after you and kill you and your family, and then your family's family. They're very, very. But his family had fled India, and that they were able to come across the United States, And just the stories he would tell me about some of the things they had to deal with, how deadly and how Christians are attacked over there at times.
Yeah,
it was amazing. My other friend was from that. I used to work at Indian Oven down at Old Market. I was a prep chef years ago when I was younger. But one of the other chefs, he was from Bhutan, and he used to tell me stories about prior to China going in and the craziness there. And I don't know if he ever got back to some of his family out of there. I mean, that was such a tragedy in itself. No, he wasn't Christian, but his heart was, he had so much pain and suffering because he left everybody behind at that time to get here so he could make money, so he could send money back to try to get them out. I mean, he was fighting for his family. He was fighting for his mother, his father, his brothers, and his sisters. And you know, the struggle is, I mean, gosh, his name was Noah. Of all names, his name was Noah. And beautiful, beautiful. And honestly, between me, Cedric, and I can't even remember his brother's name. We worked on him all the time as Christians. Although some of the food choices always made me quit. But it was part of their culture, and I understand that, and I loved it. They were such beautiful.
Yeah, I shared my testimony to my colleagues and my Hindu colleagues. Yeah, I know, because they said in Hindu temple, they also invited me to go to Hindu temple. They have more than they have more than 30 million gods.
Yeah.
I said, how can you just worship different gods? But their god system, the false god system is very highly hierarchical.
Yeah.
So they have like the top 3 gods of destroy, and then the god of creation, god of destroy, god of I forgot they mentioned, and then this is like a demonic system, is right, and then the small gods. So they still worship the 3 major. I think that's very confusing. But I just challenged them. What if there's only one God, Jesus, the Trinity God, and God Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, right? But I don't care. I just share my testimony, and then the plan has been planted. But I just feel that the strongholds in them. So that's why they got shot. So they're in my lab. I was the most healthy, the healthiest person in my lab, because every time after so many shots, they constantly got flu or got COVID. Like 1 or 2 weeks, they just got sick. So keep coughing. But I never got, because I have the integrated immunity system. My immunity system hasn't been damaged, but their immunity system. But I'm still praying for them every day. I ask for God's mercy. So I still want to. I'll pray. I'm praying for signs and wonders, even the dreams and visions, so they can know the truth. Otherwise, but I feel the strongholds. The strongholds. Yeah, even the Muslims are easier.
Well, one of the things that surprised me too was, do you remember did you cover any of the autopsy stuff later on, where they were pulling out the long, it almost looked like worms out of the blood vessels within the cadavers that from people that died? They were doing autopsies. A lot of this came out in England, where they were having funeral directors talking about they weren't able to drain the blood from the people that had passed on. It's something to do with the shots itself. And I was trying, I was researching a little bit, but I fell off because there's several other studies that the Marxists and communists were going down, so I had to back off of that time. I only have so much time in the day, but it was something to do. It was.
Have you thought about? Because I did some research for Darwin's that the evolution and Marxism. Because Darwin was also 33rd degree Mason. And Karl Marx, he's also 33rd degree.
No, that I didn't know.
So think about.
Washington was a Mason.
Think about they're all just Mason. So Satanists. So think about that, because the evolution. So just like
that's part of Washington D.C.
Only the adapted people can be survived. So if the evolution just used into the society, that's communism. So that's why communism just using the class warfare and then to kill
Correct.
the,
Correct. I know
those
exactly what
and
you're
then
talking
just say. So that's why Hitler, he's the national communism actually
Correct.
using the Darwin. So Darwin,
They were actually
theology.
fighting two
They're
communist
connected.
groups.
They're coupling. So that's all satanic. So the evolution is very evil. So that's why they just look at the Jewish people like undeveloped, unevolved.
Okay.
So if you use that and then you can kill. So that's why it's very evil. We have to fight against the evil doctrine, evolution, and also Marxism.
Well, there's something
Because those are all antichrist.
last year the
No, you're right.
last year the communist the communist groups they have meetings once a year. The last one was actually just this last Labor Day weekend. But the year before, one of the things that they kept pressing during their meetings, because this lasted for about 3 days, we actually got one of our researchers in the meetings. It was really cool. That's how we actually found out the American Library Association president was actually a Marxist, because I did more research on her later on, and that's where I discovered that she had actually announced it previously. But we had actually got her on audio recording of her stating she was. But one of the things that kept repeating, and this is kind of important, is where they were going to push the race issue. They wanted to push and divide us by races. They wanted
What's interesting, if you're a geneticist,
I just tell you, because if you read Karl Marx, the Communists, the books,
the manifestos.
The first sentence he's talking about a spirit of communism is hovering over Europe. So that's the evil spirit. That's really that's highest principle, like satanic spirit. So I just tell you, the communist spirit is just like you said. Those killing babies, killing people. So that's in 10 years cultural revolution. Like more than I think more than 1 billion people just like I need to check. I forgot, but a lot of people just killed. The fathers killed sons, sons killed fathers, and then the mother children. That's a counterfeit from Jesus' word. Okay, so at the time, so that's why my dad was in jail for 20 years because of fighting for the freedom against a communist party, Chinese tyrannical government. So that's why I could feel that I still because without Jesus, it's impossible for me to be so bold and then speak truth like now.
Correct.
Because previously, when I was in China, even because my dad was persecuted in prison from 1968 to 1988. So I was born in 78. So until I was 10 years old. So I still remember every day our family was very suppressed, very dark. And then as a 8-year-old boy, I was constantly thinking about commit suicide. Very, very heavy. That heavy, because at the time I didn't know anything about the spiritual warfare. Because everyone was atheist. So because I'm the first Christian in my family, because of my testimony. My parents, they came to Omaha, they baptized here, and then went back to China. So the salvation just came to my family. So hallelujah, praise the Lord. So I know God just sent me from China. Even at the time I didn't know him. Even at the time I tried to commit suicide, he had a plan for me. So now I really appreciate him, because otherwise, because previously, even now I talk about the communists, about CCP China, I was very cautious because I know how cruel they kill people. Because at the time they just they tried to suppress my dad's mouth.
They had the Confucius
Don't talk about the truth. And then they brought my dad to the execution, the court, and then they just used the gun just directly from the innocent person from the head, and then just shot the person, and then the brain and blood all just splashing. My dad was very shocked because he never experienced such kind of things because he's like always, he's just writing articles, journalist. So there's even just early this year, my parents they came to Omaha, last September, and then February they went back to China, and then my dad just told me the story early this year after so many after 50 years later, and told me because he's 82 years old. So that kind of fear, that fear just like you can because if you are not actually persecuted in that situation, you cannot understand.
One quick question about, because he mentioned race being in Karl Marx works in the Communist Manifesto, but he alludes to it, right? So I just wanted to point out, because we got the geneticists at the table, there's no genetic markers for race, right? How you would say one race stops and another race begins. Like you can look at people and recognize that there's a difference in phenotype. There's a phenotypical iteration that occurs because of the geography where we live. But aside from that, you can't say, okay, well, you got people who are more or less dark or light than each other in complexion. You can't say at this point, this complexion becomes black. At this point, you get so light, you become white. So there's no actual genetic markers for race. And it's not actually defined legally. In state laws, it's defined in different ways in different states. Like I think, was it Virginia has the 1/16 law, Alabama has the 1 drop, Florida's 1/8. And
it's weird how they do it from state
to
state.
That's what I said. So it's not real, right?
Can I tell you? We have genetic variety.
Okay.
Genetic variety in different racial group. We did have different genetic backgrounds.
Yes.
So we have specific, like a SNP markers.
To identify. Markers where you can say one stop.
Yeah, but we have variety, but